Welcome, women of Genesis. You may have noticed that the very first episode, I said Women of Jericho because that was the name that I decided on our healing circle here. But when I went to try to make a YouTube channel out of that, the name was already taken. And Genesis is better since it signifies the beginning. So it is what it is. Welcome, Women of Genesis. This is more than a channel, this is a signal. This is a signal for women who are not afraid to go into the darkness to bring forth the light. This is a signal for women of the old earth bringing the new earth into being, an earth of love, of peace, of joy, of abundance, a world that values people simply because they're people. And while I say women, understand that men are welcome, men on the quest to heal. You are more than welcome to join. This is going to be a building channel. We will build from one moment to the next, from one episode to the next. And the first episode was talking about the pain of being in a ego death, burnout, midlife crisis, because I feel like it's all three. And I'd like to build on that. Now, as I said, I do take frequent pauses because sometimes I need to remember what I was saying, gather my thoughts, or I just need to take a few deep breaths. In that moment, you can either reflect on what I've said or take a few deep breaths of your own. In the last episode, we were talking about titles and how they become your identity. And I really can't remember if I mentioned the fact that there could be people in your life that benefit from the titles that you have identified with all of your life. There are people who benefit from the fact that you strain and you try so hard to be the perfect daughter or the perfect son, that you try to be the perfect mother, the perfect father, the perfect employee, especially the perfect employee. These companies will bleed you dry, and some of them will not pay you for your kindness and your hard work. Of course, you know this already. But there are people who benefit from you keeping yourself small and labeled, from keeping yourself the good girl or the bad bitch, whatever it is that you identify with. There are even entities that prosper with the fact that you have been playing small. If there is a such thing as the devil, and I'm not saying that there's not, it's just that depends on what you believe, but if there is a such thing as the devil, you remaining humble because that is your title that you have identified with, you remaining humble keeps you from going out and spreading your message, your word. It keeps you from standing up for those who can't stand up for themselves. It keeps you playing small and belittling yourself and caught up in a loop to where you're not who it is that you need to be or that you should be or that you were born to be. This ego death, this midlife crisis, this burnout, let it happen. I understand that it's painful. I understand that it's tiresome, gruesome, metaphorically bloody, but let it happen. Every tower that needs to fall, allow it to fall. Because what's going to come in is a redefinition. What's going to come in is you drawing healthier, stronger boundaries. You caring about yourself more. You're noticing when you're getting to the point of burnout and putting a stop to it. Some of you mamas, including myself, may need to go on strike. You may need to tell your kids, okay, if you don't help clean up, I will not wash clothes. It could be something so simple as that. You will wear dirty clothes to school if you don't, start putting them in a hamper at least. If you don't start washing your own load of clothes, then you will go to school and be roasted. I don't know if people still use the word roasted, but be roasted by, your friends because you have on smelly clothes. And that isn't to say allow your children to suffer. I'm never one to say that. But there's got to be some lines drawn, and people have got to respect the work that you put into being who you are. because I feel like I'm tapping into people who have been devalued, who have been taken advantage of, and that's why you're at this point of burnout. That's why you're at this point of ego death, because you've held on to so many things that your ego told you that you had to be, that now you don't even know who you are or what you want or where you're going anymore. And I am also, I wonder how many of you have shared. In the last episode, I said, if somebody asks you what's going on, let them know, tell them that you're burnt out. Tell them that you're going through a spiritual awakening and ego death, that you need a minute. I wonder how many of you have said that to the people around you and they completely ignore your cries for help, for lack of a better phrase. How many people just completely look over the fact that you're exhausted, because you've always been there. You've always been able to provide. You've always been able to keep everything in, what is it, tip top shape? I can't remember the phrase, but you know what I'm talking about. They still expect you to be who you are. You still expect you to be who you are. I'm tapping into some people, and I've experienced this myself. And if you have too, let me know that you're out there. Stay present. But my experience is that there is a level of guilt that shows up because I am not who I have been up until this point. I say, hey, I can't cook dinner, and then I feel bad because dinner isn't done at a certain time. Some of this is crazy work, nasty work. What pressures are we putting on ourselves that are completely unnecessary? Whatever tower needs to fall, we've got to let it drop. I titled before I had to change the channel to the Women of Genesis, it was Women of Jericho. And for those of you who are familiar with the stories of the Bible, the walls of Jericho came tumbling down, and these are some walls that need to come tumbling down. You've got to look at the rubble around you and begin building again from there. The beginning, Women of Genesis, start at the beginning of you. Men of Genesis, the beginning of you. Because we can't bring in a new earth, a more pleasant, peaceful earth, if we are broken ourselves, if we're burnt out, if we are too tired to hold open the portal, then it's going to close. Nobody's going to get through anyway. If our vibrations are low, then we can't raise the vibrations of those around us, the earth, the soil, the people, the ocean. In order for us to be who we were sent here to be, who we decided to come here to be, we've got to take care of ourselves first. I've never been on a plane as of yet. I may, one day, but I'm somewhat of a hermit. But they say that when you're on a plane, if there's an emergency, you put your own oxygen mask on first. And that's what this is. We're crashing. But before we hit the ground, let's put on our own oxygen mask. When it comes to the concept of this being a midlife crisis, I was thinking about this today. At what point did your parents stop? When did they stop dreaming? When did they stop striving for more? When did your grandparents throw in the towel? Was it a bit too early? Have you ever even paid it any attention before? Today I was looking back on my lineage, and I noticed when members of my family stopped dreaming, when they stopped caring about other people or themselves, let themselves go. And I don't mean, keeping your body, looking right or whatever. I mean, when they let the spirit, the fire that kept them going, when they let that burn out. At what age did it stop? At what point did it stop? And some of it stopped for good reason. I'm not saying that our ancestors and the people in our family or us, I'm not saying that anybody has stopped for an unnecessary reason. Things happen, trauma happens that completely shakes you, and some people cannot pick themselves back up. But are we going to be some of those people who lay down and never get back up? I knew a man who was in a car accident in his late 40s, and true enough, it was a bad injury that the man had, but he laid in the bed for over 10 years. And it took him a long time to pick himself back up. Are we going to be those people who lay down and don't get back up? Now, I consider myself an unorthodox Christian. There are a lot of things that I believe and don't believe when it comes to Christianity, so I'm not even going to get into that. But I was brought up on stories of the Bible. And one of the stories was when Jesus was healing a crippled man. And I don't know it word for word, but it went along the lines of Jesus told the man, you know, what is easier to say, that you can't walk, or is it easier to just pick up your bed and walk? And this may be a time where you can't physically pick up your bed and walk, because I know a lot of us are not feeling good. We really need the rest. But get it into your head that this is not the end for you. You will pick up your bed and walk. You will get back up. As to when that is, we cannot rush. I think that we will, I think that we're going to land ourselves in some hot water if we rush this. It's like, I don't know why car accidents are on my mind, but at one point I was in a car accident, and I pushed myself in physical therapy. I pushed myself too fast, and I had to start all the way back over from scratch. And this is the same thing. If we don't take this time to rest and reflect and just honor what it is that we're going through, then we're gonna have to start over from scratch. We're gonna have to backtrack some. There has also been a lot of talk about what the new year is bringing, the year of the horse, and what phase the moon is in, what degrees the planets are in. And I am not belittling any of that. And it's good to know so that you can understand why you are shifting the way that you're shifting. But I want to talk about the pain that comes with it and the human experience, because looking at astrology, looking at the moon phases, that's like I said, is good information, but it takes away what makes you human. And right now I am having a severely human experience. And if you are too, you let me know. I don't feel like a star seed at all. Like, what star? It's cloudy outside. I don't see no stars. This is a completely human experience. And I want to value that and remember that I am human, because sometimes I forget. I I guess that's it. I guess that's all I wanted to share with you today. If you are still tuned in to the signal, I want to thank you for listening, and I'll see you on the other side of the wall.